Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope each and every one of you are doing just fine. And I am doing just fine myself. Thank you so much for tuning in to me today. I really appreciate it. And of course, I want to welcome each and every one of you to another episode of TJ's Topics. Of course, we're going into year number 2 of doing this little podcast. And I tell you what, I've been enjoying it. I really have. And you know what really makes me feel good about the whole thing is knowing that this little thing that I do, and it may not be much, but somehow it's reaching a pretty good number of people worldwide. And through this little podcast that I do, along with everything else that I do on my YouTube channel and other platforms I have, I'm having an impact on people around the world. And I never envisioned myself doing that. I really didn't. So to know that I'm able to reach as many people as I am with the small platform that I have, I tell you, it is something that I definitely do not take for granted. And believe me, I am so grateful for this opportunity. Now, today, I want to discuss something that came to me early this morning, on the morning that on the day that I'm taping this. And it resulted from a dream that I had early this morning. The dream consisted of my former pastor and my former church. And I was in the dream, my former pastor suspended me from the church. Now, who has ever known anyone to be suspended from a church? Of course, we've all known about people getting suspended from school, getting suspended from work, and things like that. But suspended from a church? You know, once I woke up from the dream and came to myself, it dawned on me that it's a good thing that this happened in my dream and didn't happen during the time when I was a member there. Because had I been suspended from the church at the time when I was there, I would have never went back. That would have been it for me. Once they suspended me, I would have been done with them. And the reason why he suspended me was because apparently he took a look at my records in there, my contribution record, and saw that I wasn't paying that much money. You know, I wasn't paying my tithes and giving minimal offerings. And that's why I was suspended. Well, I didn't care because I was ready to leave anyway. But anyway, all of that led me to today's topic, which is cliques and competition. And I want to focus on that in the church. Cliques and competition in church. Now we know that cliques and competition can go on anywhere at any time. But I want to talk about the church because, well, let's face it, we see that church as an organization is falling apart. It's playing out right before our eyes. We're living in a time now unlike that of any other generation. And truthfully, church just doesn't resonate with a lot of people anymore because, they tend to come across as judgmental and, they're full of hatred and bigotry and homophobia. They're very bitter and rude and disrespectful. They tend to look down on those who come across as different from themselves. And for the most part, the church doesn't like anything or anyone who is different. And here's the thing that I thought about too. See, the church likes to talk about people in the world and the world itself. They think that the world is lost. But in reality, it's the church that is lost. And why do I say that? Because, okay, think about this. The church refuses to evolve. They don't want to move forward in their way of thinking and believing and understanding. And when it comes to knowledge, they think that the little stuff that they know is all there is to know. But it's really not, because knowledge is so vast. I mean, there is so much information out here available to everybody, free of charge. You don't have to spend a dime on it. But unfortunately, most people in the church will never tap into it because they think that any form of knowledge outside of that which is outlined in the scriptures is of the devil. See, everything that goes contrary to what they believe and teach and think is satanic and evil and ungodly. But those of us who have knowledge and understanding that's totally different from what they have in church, we know better. And so, and I'm very grateful for that. And I hope you are too. So that's my topic for today: cliques and competition in church. Now, first we need to define a clique. What is a clique? A clique is a small group of people with shared interest or other features in common who spend time together and do not readily allow others to join them. And I think pretty much all of us have known various cliques throughout our lives. And who knows, we may have found ourselves in a clique or two at one time or another. I know I have, mainly in the church, which is what I'm talking about. Now, examples of cliques are athletes, nerds, frat brothers, sorority sisters, high-class individuals, such as the wealthy, people who have a lot of money, rich people, and the upper middle class. They may not have it quite as much as that 1%, but they're not too far behind. Then, of course, you have your drinking buddies, folks you hang out with and get your drink on and stuff on the weekends and everything. And others. Those are examples of cliques. And I'm sure that many of us have found ourselves a part of one of these type of cliques at a certain point in our lives. Now, churches tend to be cliquish as well, in that they typically don't practice what they preach. And how is it that the church doesn't practice what it preaches? Well, I'll give you a clue on that. An example. In church, they often say that there are no big I's and no little U's, meaning that there is no one in the fellowship that's better than the next person. Everyone is on the same playing field. I mean, everyone has the same rights and privileges. But is that true? Now, the moment that someone new, or perhaps a member who has been there for a while but has had very little to say, the moment one of those individuals approaches these people who are heavily involved in the ministry, they're the shot callers. They hold all the leadership roles, and they're active in all the auxiliaries and participate in all the various ministries of the church. Follow the pastor everywhere he goes, does everything he says, is there every time the doors are open. When one of those people who doesn't necessarily fall in line with that category comes forth and tries to offer new ideas and new concepts, new thoughts and a new way of understanding, then it's usually not long before all these big shot members, the ones who do everything and go everywhere, they start to look sideways at these so-called little members, these ones who don't really participate in much, don't do anything, don't say anything. Because, see, the thing about church is, they have their picks and chooses. They have their favorites. I mean, they have the ones that they can call on all the time. Those are their favorite ones, their favorite members, to do this and, like get up and MC a program, or, read a scripture, say a prayer, or lead a solo or something. They have their favorites. But they also have those whom they don't really care for. And they try to stay away from them if at all possible. Won't offer them a chance to do anything or, say anything. They don't want to give them an opportunity to showcase their gifts and their talents. And I think that's because, they're afraid that if they do give that person or those people a chance, and those people get up there and literally show out, I'm talking about they lay it on the line in terms of their talent. They demonstrate their abilities to the point where it starts to make these big time members feel ashamed of themselves and what they do or what they think they can do. They try to prevent that because that's going to start to show them up and make them look bad. Therefore, they won't allow these others who are not as outspoken and don't try to, flounce around and be seen by everybody. They're not the pastor's pet. They're not they're not skinning and grinning, running games and schemes and stuff, trying to make it to the top, because they're not about that. But there are those in church who are. And I know because I've dealt with quite a few of them. They think that because they've been there for a long time, nobody can tell them anything and nobody can show them anything. But I don't care how old you are, and I don't care how long you have been doing a thing, there's always something that you can learn that you may not have known beforehand. I mean, for example, you may have been on a job for about 15 or 20 years. Well, of course, you got it down pat. You know what to do. How your job performance. You know exactly how to carry out your daily duties. But every once in a while, it's good to go back and and see where you may be able to do something a little different or a little better. It's called self-improvement, which is something that we all have room for sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with trying to do better for ourselves or, or for someone else. But in church, that's not always the case because, you know, they're not in favor of evolving. When it comes to religion, they don't want to move past where they are. They want to remain right in that same spot where they've always been for decades or even centuries. Meanwhile, the world, whom they have deemed lost, and they have said that they're going to hell in a handbasket. They said that the world is going to hell in a handbasket. But nah, they don't want to move forward at all. So it's crazy. It really is. But those are examples of cliques in the church. But I also mentioned competition in the church. Now, first we need to define competition. Now, what is a competition? It is the act or process of competing, rivalry. Examples of competition are athletic teams, whether they be junior high, high school teams, colleges and universities, or even professional teams, football, basketball, what have you. And they, play against each other in an effort to win, of course, because it's all about winning. Then you have TV and radio. You have television and radio stations, and they're competing against each other for viewers and listeners. That's a competition. Also, you have contractors who are pitching their bids for a major construction project or renovation or whatever. All these different contractors of different businesses, they're going against each other, trying to see who is going to offer the better bid and win the contract so that they will get the business and make the money, of course. That's a competition. Well, how about this? In church, there tends to be a bit of a competition between people as well. Examples are people's attire, trying to outdress somebody, especially in the black church, because black church is nothing but a fashion show. Nothing but, trying to outdo somebody else in terms of appearance. We see this all the time. Singing, who can sing the best? Who has the better choir? Or, well, I guess since the pandemic, don't too many churches have choirs now, so mostly got praise teams. So who has the better praise team? And then who can shout the best? Who got the best shout? Who can dance and run and holler? Who can turn over the most pews? Who can kick over the most flowers? And then there's the aspect of financial contributions. Who can outgive somebody else? Who can pay the most tithes and offerings? It's just a bunch of stupidity. I mean, that's what I call it, because that's basically what it is. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, in doing research for this subject matter, I came across a new term that I had never heard. and it certainly wasn't a part of my vocabulary, and that is sectarianism. 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 And what is sectarianism? Well, it's a political, cultural, or religious conflict between two groups. Examples of sectarianism are political, religious, and cultural, of course. Those are the three. And number one, political. And I think if you watch the news enough, you'll see this all the time. Basically every day. The battle between the right wing and the left wing. The Republicans and the Democrats. That's the political aspect of sectarianism. Then, number two, the cultural aspect of sectarianism. The way of life of those in the Western Hemisphere, which is where we are, versus the Eastern Hemisphere, those who live on the other side of the water. Example, America versus China, or anywhere else overseas on the other side of the world. That's a good example. And then finally, number three, the religious aspect of sectarianism. The differences in the beliefs and teachings of Protestants and Catholics, and or Christians or Muslims. Or you can throw in any other religions that you can think of. They have their own doctrine and their own beliefs and their own God, their own deity, whoever they subscribe to that they worship. Because think about this, every religion, they have their own God, their own book of authority, like Christians have the Bible, Muslims have the Quran. Now, I don't know what exactly the Hindus and the Buddhists have, but I'm sure they got some type of literature as well, all telling people how they ought to live, how they ought to treat one another. And if they don't do such, then they'll end up going to hell or going somewhere. It's crazy, isn't it? But again, it's competition. That's all this is. They are cliques and they're competitors with one another. Political parties, the religious establishments, the religions themselves, the various cultures and ethnicities. See, that's why I don't care for the word race when it comes to defining various ethnic groups. I think that is a very incorrect word. That term is totally incorrect because race denotes competition. And in my opinion, there ought not be a competition between any ethnic group. Each one of us, I don't care what ethnicity or what nationality you are, there ought not be a competition between any of us. All of us we all live on this earth together. And since we're here together, we should be able to get along with each other and live at peace and harmony with each other. Now, those are just my thoughts. But feel free to share your thoughts with me as I conclude today's topic, cliques and competition, with an emphasis on the church. but I tell you, it's crazy. It really is. And tell me what you think. Do you think it's a good thing that we have all this competition going on and all these old cliques and stuff, even amongst people who claim to be serving the Lord or whoever they serve? Do y'all think that makes any sense? Because to tell you the truth, I don't. So on that note, I would like to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of TJ's Topics. I really appreciate it. And feel free to like and comment and subscribe. Share with whoever you wish. And I look forward to seeing you again next time, okay? And be sure to tune in to me again next time, because I have another hot topic that I'm going to discuss. That topic being, and I'm still going to be talking about the church as well, but this time at a more broader scale. Sexual stupidity in Christianity. You don't want to miss that. I have a lot to say about that. Sexual stupidity in Christianity. I can't wait to discuss that with you. And I can't wait to hear from you either. So I thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you again on the next time, okay? This is Taryn Jerome Harris, reminding you that every round goes higher and higher. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.